Welcome back, all my fight fans. Today, I'm going to be giving you guys my predictions for UFC Fight Night Adesanya versus Imavov. I normally do not do fight nights when I do my prediction videos. I usually just do the pay-per-views. But holy, if the UFC isn't giving us the best fight night cards we've ever seen this year, it is fantastic. There's been so many fight nights announced where I'm like, holy, that could be a pay-per-view card. Like, I might want to have people over for that one. So I'm going to start with this one. If you guys like these videos and you guys want me to cover all of the fight nights, I certainly can do that. It'll add a little bit to my workload, but I don't care. I absolutely love talking about MMA. So let me know down in the comments if you guys want me to do that. I certainly can. But today, I'm actually only going to be covering the main card. I don't want to go through all the prelims and stuff today. I feel like most people don't care about the prelims and early prelims. Again, if I'm wrong, let me know down in the comments, and I can certainly cover everything. I watch all the fights anyways, but I'm just going to cover the main card today. Unfortunately, we did have a fight drop out, so I'm only going to be covering the four fights on the main card. Whichever fight might have gotten added to the main card, I'm not going to cover that one. I know Shamil's fighting on the prelims, and I'm excited to see him fight. He's kind of a meme in the MMA world, but yeah, I'm excited to see that guy. I'm going to kick it off with Said Nurmagomedov versus Vinicius Oliveira. This is a bantamweight fight. Both these guys are pretty tall for bantamweight, 5'8" and 5'9". 32 years old for Nurmagomedov and 29 for Vinicius, so they're both kind of in their prime. And I don't know which way to call this one. They both have similar records, 18-3 for Nurmagomedov and 21-3 for Oliveira. And like you guys probably already know, I'm a huge fan of the Dagestani, so obviously I'm going to be picking Said in this one. But I just want to say that this is kind of a coin flip fight for me. If I was going to call this fight, I'd probably say it's kind of 50-50. Vinicius Oliveira is no joke, man, and he could easily get this done. It's not like Said Nurmagomedov is like Usman or Umar. He's like this super hot prospect that's supposed to take over the sport. He is still a very, very talented fighter, and I think he has a chance at possibly cracking into the top 10 or top 5 at bantamweight, but I think there's ways for him to lose, and Vinicius Oliveira might capitalize on that. So I'm taking Said, but by all means, this is a 50-50 fight. Next up, we have Sergey Pavlovich versus Jairzinho Rosenstrike. Sergey Pavlovich is 18-3. Jairzinho is 15-5. That record really doesn't show how great of a fighter he is. He's a former kickboxer, very, very talented. He is 36 years old. Sergey's 32, so the age definitely factors for Sergey. He's also an inch taller. There's actually a 6-inch difference in reach, and I actually thought, looking at the stats, that it was going to be for Jairzinho, but actually Sergey Pavlovich has the 6-inch reach advantage, and we all know that he has extreme power in his hands, 5.8 significant strikes landed per minute, and his striking accuracy for significant strikes is about 44%, which is not fantastic. Jairzinho sits at 53%, but I think Pavlovich has enough power to knock out Jairzinho cold in the first round. We've seen Jairzinho go out like that before against Francis Ngannou, and I think Sergey is a similar animal. And I think he's going to be looking to bounce back after, a couple losses there with Aspinall and Volkov. Volkov really pieced him up, and the Aspinall fight going into it, I think we all thought that was 50-50. Kind of the odds going into it, 50-50 for both guys. Going into a rematch, I think it's still kind of 50-50. Tom might be a little bit cleaner with his hands and his combinations, to give him his flowers, but Sergey Pavlovich, man, he's got so much damn power that guy could knock out anybody. I think Volkov was kind of his kryptonite, just having that reach advantage. I think Pavlovich is going to get this done in the first round by KO. That's my official prediction. However, if this goes past the first round, I could seriously see Jairzinho finding his streak and putting it on Pavlovich for rounds 2 and 3 and maybe squeezing out a decision. But moving on, we have, I'm excited for this one. A middleweight bout between the undefeated Shara Bullet Magomedov and Michael MVP Page. 22-3 for Michael Venom Page and 15-0 for Magomedov. I think 4 of those wins came in the last year. He was one of the most active fighters of 2024. Height, pretty similar. 6'2" for Shara Bullet and 6'3" for MVP. The reach, there is a 6-inch reach advantage for MVP, so that's going to be a factor in the fight. Another factor, though, age 30 for Magomedov, 37 for MVP. So MVP, some of you guys may remember him from his Bellator days. That's how I got into him, watching those knockouts of Cyborg and the fight with Lima and the rematch, and so many great fights that he had in Bellator. I was a huge fan of this guy, still am, but I think Shara Bullet might get this done. I don't know, because the reach advantage is huge, and the way that Michael Venom Page blades his stance and he kind of jumps in and out, he's got that karate stance, right? It's very hard to read him. He's like a cobra, and he's very, very hard to hit. So I don't know how much Shara Bullets is actually going to be able to hit him, but Shara has some brutal leg kicks. He throws very, very tough leg kicks, and I think with the way that MVP blades his stance, that leg might be vulnerable to some leg kicks. So we'll see how that plays out. But I think for the straight-up kickboxing, it's going to be tough. That reach is going to be hard to overcome, but the age is going to probably slow MVP down a little bit. And Shara is very, very fast. They call him a bullet for the bullet for a reason. And the significant strikes landed per minute favors Shara by quite a bit. He's at 6.2, whereas MVP is at 2.4. Now, again, that might be going off of his UFC stats, which he hasn't had many UFC fights. Most of his fights were in Bellator, so I don't know if that's factoring in his Bellator stats. Their significant strike accuracy, though, is both incredibly high, some of the highest in the sport. 71 for Shara and 74 for MVP. So both of these guys are incredibly accurate. Neither one of these guys will be shooting for a takedown. This will be a 5-round. I believe it's 5 rounds. If it's not 5 rounds, the UFC have seriously messed up. But it's going to be probably a 5-round kickboxing match, and I expect it to be back and forth. Like I said, I think Shara's speed is going to catch up for him. I think that's how he's going to win, probably the later rounds. But I think the earlier rounds, MVP with his distance control and that 6-inch reach advantage and just his experience in kickboxing, I think he might win a couple of the first rounds. But I don't know if he'll be able to get a KO. I don't even know if Shara Bullet will be able to get a KO. So I'm not going to call this by knockout, even though we have two extremely talented kickboxers going at it. I think this goes to a decision, and I think Shara pulls it out. I just think with how awkward MVP is, the way both of these guys don't really shoot for takedowns, they don't even really clinch at all, I think this is going to be, it's going to be not a slow stand-up fight. I think it'll be action-packed, but I think they're both going to have their distance control on point, and I don't think anybody's going to get knocked out too early. But honestly, I hope I'm wrong. I'm kind of hoping for Shara Bullet to get an early knockout, because there's something about that guy. Like, I know he's in the same division as Chimaev, and as soon as he faces Chimaev, he's in trouble, because we've seen him taken down before, and I don't think he's going to be able to stop that. But who knows? Maybe if he keeps training, if he gets into the Dagestani camp and trains with Khabib some more, maybe we could see something there. I would love to see this guy become champ. I really would. I would love to see him fight the top fighters in the division, see him go up against Strickland. I think he would dominate Strickland. I'd love to see him fight, Duplessis, Israel Adesanya, who I'm going to talk about in a second here. I'd love to see that fight as well. So maybe if Israel loses his fight, we could see that one lined up next. But if Israel wins, I think he should most likely get another title shot. I don't know. You guys can let me know. But we're going to talk about that middleweight fight. I call the last one Shara Bullet by decision for Adesanya versus Imavov. I can never say this. I can't even say his first name properly. Nassourdine. I think that's close enough. Israel's 24-4. Nassourdine is 15-4. So Israel there with almost 10 more wins, 10 more fights experience. Israel stands at 6'4". Imavov stands at 6'3". Israel's 35, so he's starting to get towards that decline in his career. He's kind of right at the end of his prime. Maybe he can squeeze out a couple more awesome victories, but usually 35, 36, especially towards these heavier weight classes, that's when you start to see the decline start to happen. So the reach is similar. Actually, 5-inch reach advantage. That's not really similar. 80-inch reach for Izzy and a 75 for Imavov. And the significant strikes landed per minute, 4 versus 4.5, basically equal. Imavov actually surprisingly has a slightly better strike percentage, significant strike percentage, 59% to Israel's 51%. And takedowns, I mean, we all know that Imavov has a little bit more in his bag when it comes to takedowns, but I don't see this fight going to the ground. I think this will stay on the feet for the full 5 rounds. And I think it will likely go to a decision, but this could end in a knockout. I mean, obviously, Israel Adesanya has knocked many people out before, and maybe he wants to come back in electric fashion and get something quick to kind of show the matchmakers, like, hey, I'm still one of the top guys in the top 5 here. I deserve a big fight next after this, whether it's a title shot or a #1 contender shot. I think Israel Adesanya is going to want to make a big bang, especially after couple iffy losses there. You know, the Duplessis fight, he was winning up until he lost, and the Strickland fight was like dead even up until like the final moment where Strickland caught him a little bit. But I think both of those fights, if they got ran back easily, Izzy could win them in theory. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with Izzy. He's one of those fighters, when he first came into the UFC, I really didn't like him because he was beating all my favorite fighters and he was looking like the next big thing. And I'm like, shoot, man, this guy might beat John Jones. Like, I remember talking about that. Like, damn, like this guy might actually go up to light heavyweight and challenge my GOAT. Like, that's not good. But he eventually lost to Jan Blachowicz, and after that loss, I gained a little bit more respect for him. And when he started, dialing it down on the mic and wasn't so loud and obnoxious, I started to like Israel a little bit more. And I do appreciate him because he's one of the flashiest, most beautiful kickboxers we've ever seen in the sport. And it's going to be sad when he leaves. He's already 35, so hopefully we get a masterpiece out of him on Saturday, and hopefully he gets back in the win column. So I have Israel Adesanya winning by decision. I know that's kind of boring to pick Shara Bullet and Israel by decision, but man, when you have so many high-level kickboxers, sometimes these fights go to decision. That's the pattern that I see. And I'm not saying that Imavov is like the same level as Israel, but he is a talented striker. I think this fight's going to be closer than people expect. You don't want to overlook Nasruddin. And then Shara and Michael Venom Page, it's so difficult because they're two of my favorite fighters. They're two absolute fan favorites. And while I would love to see a KO for MVP and see him challenge for the title, I always wanted to see him come to the UFC and face the top guys. Him versus Adesanya was always a dream fight. Him versus Anderson Silva was always a dream fight for me. So I always wanted to see him come to the UFC. I always thought he could be champ, but there's something about Shara Bullet right now. He's 30 years old. He's like right in his prime. He's on a hot streak. He was one of the most active fighters last year, getting I think 3 or 4 wins. The double spinning back fist knockout is one of the coolest things I've ever seen. That might be cooler than anything MVP's ever done, and that's a huge statement because MVP has some of the sickest knockouts ever, especially when he celebrates. But we'll see. We'll see how this one goes down. MVP's last fight was at welterweight, so that is another thing to consider. He is taller than Shara, but I think he might like 170 a little bit more. So we'll see how that plays a factor, but I'm going to take Shara by decision and Israel by decision. You guys let me know down in the comments, who do you guys have winning these fights? Definitely don't forget to like, subscribe, share with your friends to help boost this channel and the algorithm. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Enjoy the fights. Peace.